Hello, my name is Robert Holzhauser, and I participated with all of you about a month ago with the first virtual UPW, and that was an amazing experience. And so, for about the past week or so, Bryn, Harries, and I have been having a really unique dialogue where we've been challenging each other to come up with a way to simplify everything that we went over during the week, or it seemed like a week, right? During those 4 days of UPW, and make it possible to bring all those distinctions at once in a simple way. And so we went back and forth a number of times, and this is what we've come up with, is what we're calling the fusion certainty process. So I wanted to go over that with you because it's pretty powerful. It really is, and I wanted to share that with you, and I hope that it'll add massive value to you. This first part, like Bryn has said, is kind of a 7-day experiment to see just how much increase in certainty we can get in 7 days, adding this into our ongoing daily life as an extension of UPW. So we have we've come up with this algorithm called the compounding certainty formula that I want to cover real quick. And this is kind of a review. I think we've probably covered this already on the call. I'm filming this in advance of the call. And so the compounding certainty formula is really simple. What it says is that what we're going to do is we're going to work on every day decreasing uncertainty, reducing uncertainty by just a little bit, like 1%. And we're going to work on increasing our certainty, again, by just a little bit, 1%. There's a quote by Albert Einstein that I think you guys, many of you will have probably seen or heard about, where Albert Einstein says that the most powerful force in the universe, and by the way, this is Einstein who studied everything from the teeniest atoms to the immensity of the cosmos, right? And Einstein says the most powerful force in the universe is compound interest, or compounding. And so we're going to use compounding as part of the process of increasing our certainty. So that's kind of the broad idea. And so there's two parts to this, how we're going to do this. The first part is a checklist of 7 or 8 things that we're going to give you and ask you to implement these. And many of you are probably already doing most of this already. And it's also going to be a really good reminder of what we learned in UPW. So then the second part is a guided meditation. And I'm going to guide you through that. And this meditation is going to be like probably nothing you've ever experienced before. I'm so excited to take you through it. So let's go through the checklist first. So the first part is priming. My guess is that most of you are doing priming on a daily basis, and so we're going to ask you to continue that but make a small tweak, which is to add an anchor to it. So Tony talks about anchoring in a lot of different places. It's a key concept from neuro-linguistic programming. He talks about it in unlimited power, in personal power, in creating lasting change, and probably other places as well. And an anchor, the idea of an anchor is where you create your own little stimulus. And so what we're going to have you do is create like a unique gesture. Like here's the one that I'm using. So it can be this, it can be like, something like that. Some little fist or way of putting your hand in a unique position that's like totally unique. It's not something you normally do in daily life. So create a totally unique way of putting your hand. And then once you have that, also come up with a phrase. And that phrase is going to be just short, 1, 2, 3 words. Ideally, the shorter the better. And it can also be a unique sound. Whatever it is for you, what's gonna happen is then as you're doing your priming, you're going to, in the priming, and it's probably best to do the priming even if you normally are doing it by yourself, for the next few days as you add this in, go ahead and do it follow along with the YouTube video of Tony doing it. And that'll make it easier to add this piece in and not get distracted from it. And so, during the priming, what happens is Tony asks us to access a number of different states, right? Starting with appreciation, and then we go through and we send the healing energy, and then we imagine our goals already achieved, and then at the end of it, then we go through and we stack in, or we flood a whole bunch of other resource states, like times that were really funny and we were laughing, and times that we felt totally unstoppable and powerful and confident and proud and excited, and moments that we felt romantic and loved. And as you step into each of those, as Tony guides you to step into them, what you're going to do is you're going to make your gesture, and you're going to say in your head, you're going to say your phrase or your word. And then that combination of saying the phrase inside your head and your mudra, we might call, that's what in certain Eastern practices they call a special hand gesture. So you're going to do your mudra, which you're creating. It's not taking something from some Eastern religion or something. You're creating it as an anchor. The combination of those two, and that's going to stack it. That's going to create this into being whatever your gesture is for you that you decide upon. And it's going to create a stacked anchor. Now, remember Tony talked about stacking, right? And it's going to make it so that when you do this in the future, what it's going to do is it's going to access all of the power of all of those resources that you tap into during priming or flooding. It's going to put it literally at the tip of your fingertips. So you guys are already really good at tapping into your peak state. To really do that, right, as you recall, like we did in UPW, is like making your move. That's one of mine. And to do a big power move in public is sometimes a little bit awkward. Like if I'm at the office, which of course during COVID is, who's in the office anymore? It's opening back up there. The point is sometimes in public it's a little bit awkward to like sit there and crank up your physiology, which is still worth doing no matter what people, I'm not saying to give in to what people say or whatever, but sometimes it's useful. Like if you're if you're in a sales meeting, you can't stand up in the middle of the sales meeting. That would be a good pattern interrupt and do your power moves for most of the time. So by having this anchor, you can still, even without doing your power moves, access all of the power and resourcefulness and certainty that you tap into during flooding, right at the tip of your fingertips. So that's number one. When you do priming like you're normally doing, and as you go through it, do your special mudra gesture and your phrase each time you step into and access the feelings of one of the memories that you're guided into. So the next one is, of course, Tony talks about incantations. So I want to encourage you to really take advantage of that, because incantations, in a couple of programs, Tony talks about what although he didn't during UBW, he didn't describe it this way, but what incantations do is they make the belief active, right? So it's one thing to have a passive belief in your unconscious mind. It's another to take and to make that belief active. And the way that you do that is with intensity, right? Like Tony taught us with the incantations. And also, he didn't emphasize this part as much, but I have heard tapes of Tony where he talked about, and he kind of implied it there, he implied it that he implied that what's powerful in incantations is doing massive numbers of them. And as Tony implies that, like when he was in his little apartment in California, and he was washing the dishes in his bathtub, that what he would do is he would just be constantly doing incantations. And I would encourage you to think of life as you go through your day as a constant incantation. So incant as continuously as you can, as you walk around the house, as you're doing your dishes, as you're taking your shower, as you're driving around. Anytime you have any downtime at all, be incanting continuously. And I'll set an ideal target for that as 1,000 incantations per day. Now I know that's kind of outrageous, but if you have that in your mind and you're constantly doing incantations, you might actually exceed 1,000. But the minimum that we're going to ask you to do is 100 repetitions of any incantation. And I think it would be really powerful if you do those incantations about your goals, about your identity, the new identity and the new beliefs about your identity that you chose during the Dickens process, or any other supportive beliefs, even your values, anything that supports you. So massive incantations is the second piece on the checklist to be doing as you're going along. And I know a lot of you are already doing tons of incantations, so these first two steps are probably really nothing new. The third step too, I believe most of you are already doing, which is, remember how Tony talked about a beautiful state and living in a beautiful state. And of course, we're all going to get knocked out of that. But when we do, and we enter into any kind of suffering, that to only allow ourselves to stay in a suffering state for no more than 90 seconds. So for a maximum of 90 seconds, go ahead and suffer, and then shift to a positive peak state. Right? So live in a beautiful state. Now, the third piece is to review your goals every day. And as you review them, you're going to add two pieces to them. One is for each of your goals that you're closing the gap on, add 3 more reasons, new reasons, different reasons than anything you have before. Come up with 3 new reasons why you're going to achieve your goals. Why it's important that you do, what it'll do for you, what you'll gain, how you'll benefit, how other people in your life will benefit, the difference it'll make for you, the difference it'll make for them, and also on the negative side, what it'll cost you if you don't, the pain, how you'll suffer if you don't. So that's step number 4. And then, as you're reviewing your goals, you're going to add this other little piece too, which is you're going to then simulate having the goal. So you're going to run like a mental dress rehearsal or a mental simulation of going through the steps required to get your goal, thinking about the reasons why you're going to do it, and also imagining that it's already there. So this is creating results in advance. You remember the simple momentum formula that Tony shared with us, of where we have our potential, which is unlimited, we're taking action, we're getting results, and then that's impacting our belief, which is impacting how much of our potential we tap into. So this is the part where we create results in advance, and we're also going to do it with the actions that we take. So we're not just going to have the end result, we're going to also run through and imagine ourselves in advance, simulating taking the actions mentally first. Right. So now for step number 5, we're going to loop back to incantations. And I'm going to challenge you to, for each of your goals that you're really focusing on, to do at least 25 incantations focusing on the goal. And that's going to, I believe, really accelerate and really get the goal locked into your reticular activating system, your RAS, so that your unconscious mind is just sorting constantly as you go through life. All the things that normally you delete, distort, and generalize, your unconscious mind is going to pick those up, and it's going to pull them in, and you're going to see all these new opportunities that you normally don't see. And that's going to make it really, really powerful for you. So that's step number 5. Step number 6 is to practice RPM, the result, purpose, massive action formula that was only really hinted at during UPW, but Tony teaches in the time of your life. There's also a video that KK goes through that's in the Tony Robbins portal that you have access to if you want to get more information on that. So what for this Fusion of Certainty challenge, what we're going to ask you to do is to practice that mentally instead of like writing down the full thing. Like, go ahead and do that for when you're planning your day and whatnot. And also, as you're going through your day, as you step into a new aspect of your day, a new task, for instance, to quickly go through those steps. What specific result do I want? Why? What will it do for me? What's important about it? How will it make a difference in my life? How will it benefit me? How will it benefit others? Why is it important? What will it cost me if I don't? What will I miss out on? What will I lose if I don't do it? And then come up with your massive action plan. And what your massive action plan for this, what we're going to say that it is at least 3 ways. Brainstorm a bunch of ways if you want to, but at least 3 ways that you can achieve it. At least 3 ways. Then the next step is we're going to actually change this for the way that we practice it during this Fusion of Certainty. Is we're going to make it RPMS. And the S is going to be to simulate, just like we did in this step where we're thinking about our goals and adding the reasons. As you're going through the day, also just for a minute, as you're doing the RPM process quickly, mentally, also at the end of it, simulate it. Step in, imagine the goals already achieved, and imagine going through the actions and ending in, ta-da, I achieved my goal. But simulate going through the actions as well as the success of achieving the goal. So that's step number 6. Step number 7, and this is one of my favorite things to do, is to check in with your archetypes. And these are your power archetypes. In some of the reference books that are out there, there's talk about like some of the disempowering archetypes that sometimes we step into and act out of. So for this, what we're going to do is we're just going to focus on the 4 empowering archetypes that Tony went through in the comeback challenge, which are your warrior, your magician, your lover, your sovereign. We're going to add one more to that, which is, do you remember on day 3 that Tony took us into like that absolute state of unstoppable, outrageous, completely empowered, no holds barred, absolute primal certainty, right? That one where you're just like, and then he told us the shortcut of where we can access that just by lifting our sternum by 2 millimeters. So if you recall, you not only did you discover that part of yourself that is primal certainty in you as you, but you also gave it a name. I don't know what your name for that part is. Whatever it is, you're going to also, in addition to checking in on a regular basis throughout your day, also talk to your certainty part. Tap into it. Get its advice just like you do with the archetypes. So that is step 7. Now, step 8, and this is also from day 3. If you recall, Tony talked to us about the difference between, and had us go through a really powerful exercise, the difference between worry and hope and certainty. And what this does then is it makes it possible for you to, on an ongoing basis, to tap into instantly certainty, because what you're going to do is you're going to measure and you're going to say to yourself, am I in worry, hope, or certainty? Now, what's the difference between worry, hope, and certainty? What the difference is in worry, you're focusing on what you don't want, your undesired goal. In hope, you're focusing on both a combination of my undesired result and my desired result, like kind of combination of both. What I don't want, what I do want, that's hope. Certainty, on the other hand, is where your only focus is what you want, your desired result, where that's it. There's nothing in your mind about the undesired result, because what you're doing in certainty is like you're making your outcome the only thing in your mind. You're making it big, larger than life, maybe on a 100-foot screen. So it's huge, so it takes up all of your mind, and so you're focusing on it. And then in addition to that single focus of exactly what you want, what you're gonna also do is you're gonna get in that physiological state of certainty by using that 2 millimeter shift up of your sternum, as if God is lifting you up, is one way to think about it. So what that's gonna do then is, so let's just recap those first 8 steps. So number 1 is priming with the tweak of anchoring. Stack that anchor every time you prime. Number 2, massive incantations. Number 3, live in a beautiful state, and remember the 90-second rule. Number 4 is to every day review your goals and add at least 3 more reasons why you absolutely will achieve those goals, why it's a must. Now number 5 is about doing incantations on your goals. Number 6, practice RPM, result, purpose, massive action plan, as you go through your day. And actually remember, RPMS, where the S is to simulate, to run a simulation or a scenario of actually going through your goal for that subsection of your day. So doing this is going to cause you to be like, as you go through your day, solution-oriented, outcome-oriented, focused and certain on what you want. Then the next step is you're going to check in with your archetypes and your primal certainty part. And this is going to make it so that by at least morning and night, and hopefully many other times during the day, but at least morning and night, you're going to be checking in with your archetypes. And then step 8, check in a few times a day. Are you living in worry, where you're mostly focused on avoiding what you don't want? Are you living in hope, where you're kind of like mixed, like I kind of want this, but I kind of want to avoid that? Or are you living in a state of absolute certainty and also access that 2 millimeter shift, or even radically to get into that absolute state of certainty? And remember the power of voice. If you can go somewhere where you're free to like really access that power and do that, because the power of your voice, as we tapped into on that 3rd day, really helps you to access that certainty. So then step number 9 is the momentum fusion, which is the guided meditation that we're going to ask you to go through at least once a day to follow this meditation. And so at times during this, I was trying to kind of do Tony style and be like really woo powerful, right? So we're gonna cut the video here in a second, and then we're gonna also provide a separate link that you can tap into for this guided meditation. It's gonna be a little slower, a little more relaxed, and it's gonna be incredibly powerful. So we'll see you in just a minute. Go ahead and click the link to the guided meditation of momentum fusion, and we will see you there.